It's Andy Cohen, Stephen Shallow. You know, Chris Cuomo just walked in. Bye, John. Looking like a snack, I might add. Hey, Chris Cuomo.
How are you?
I'm great. Chris has a new show on SiriusXM called Let's Get After It with Chris Cuomo. I mean, that sounds like you're going to, do it with girls on the radio. Do you realize that?
No, I don't realize that because that's not what it sounds like.
To me, that's what it sounds like.
That's the key part.
Right.
So really the discussion is why.
Does it sound like that?
To you.
Let's get after it?
That
I
is
mean,
what I
What
said.
does that mean? Let's get after it?
First of all, I'll tell you what it doesn't mean.
Okay, I think you have.
Which is what's going on in your crazy upstairs.
By the way, you might get more listeners if that's what it meant.
I may, and I also may lose the gig.
Right.
The origin of it is, that's what I say every night before my cable show on CNN.
Oh, who do you say that to?
The audience.
You say it before your show?
At the top of the show.
Okay, you say it at the top of your show. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
You have to be careful.
After
you
your
really
toss
have a catchphrase.
with Anderson.
So I take it from our mutual friend Anderson.
Yes.
Right? I say, thank you, Anderson. I am Chris Cuomo. And this is Primetime. Then we go through the 2 or 3 things that we're going to dive into. And then at the end of that, kind of call to action.
Right.
You know the drill.
Yes.
Let's get after it.
Yes. I like it.
Thank you.
It's very...
You kind of ruined it now.
No, I did. Had you never thought that?
No, never.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But we're in very different places.
Yes, we are.
You know what I mean? You're like in the prime, you're in the thrust, you're thinking that way. And I know the words prime and thrust.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. But to me, I'm old, and
I'm older than you, dude.
I'm dealing with the family stuff, so I don't have the juices that you have.
The juices?
To excess.
He only speaks in these terms. It's prime, thrust, and juices. This is what he's saying, and he's not meaning to. It's hilarious. I'm enjoying Cuomo Primetime. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You must be very happy to be off the morning, even though you loved that.
I loved the morning.
Yes.
I loved what we built.
And you did great. You did build something on that show.
We really did. That's an amazing team. That is the best morning show CNN has ever had. Now, a lot of the stuff...
with all due, that's not saying much.
But hold on a second.
Yes.
You're right. Fair criticism.
Yes.
The point is, though...
But you're right, by the way. It is. You turned that show around.
Right. CNN was never discussed in the morning.
You're right.
For a while, American Morning was a good show, but it was drowned out by all of the bigger shows on the networks. Then they had Soledad O'Brien on there, and really, she was a lefty flack. She was making advocacy arguments from the left, and that wasn't sufficient.
Right.
Fighting with people in the morning isn't sufficient. Right. So we then built this team that became a culture, and that is the best cable morning show. Morning Joe is a political salon.
Yes,
it's not a morning news show.
No, you're right.
That is the best one. Berman and Camerata are the best, but I had to leave. I had to leave because the fight is at night, my brother.
Right.
That is Thunderdome.
That's
so
true.
If that is where you want to stand and be counted, that's the place to be, even though it is an ass kicking in the waiting.
Yes. Chris, you grew up in New York,
I did.
Obviously.
In Queens.
In Queens. Your father was governor for how many years?
From when I was 13 to when I was 24, 25.
So that must have been crazy, a crazy exciting childhood.
When I was young, I hated it.
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't handle it right. The family knows it now, and it's been very helpful to Andrew, my brother, in how he dealt with his kids. And their mother, Carrie, dealt with it perfectly. The girls had a great transition through it. They understood it for what it was.
Why did your parents not?
Here's why it was bad for me. One, I'm the youngest by a lot, whereas my mother, the older she gets, or the less young, she likes to describe as a blessing, which means a mistake in Catholic parlance. Yes. So I'm a lot younger than my other siblings. I'm 16 years from my oldest sibling. Wow. 13 from Andrew.
How old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay.
So, my mother was almost 40 when she had me.
Wow.
So, that was very unusual in that generation. She had her first kid in her early 20s. So, what's the point? The point is this. They were so excited and surprised by the win that the transition was secondary.
Right.
So they just yanked me out of the only school I'd ever been in my life, the only group of friends I'd ever had in my life, and deposited me.
Schlonked you to Albany?
Yeah, from Archie Bunker, from All in the Family to Benson is how my life went. And then I'm in a mansion.
Now you're speaking my language.
Now I got you.
Oh, my God. So, Robert Guillaume.
So I wish I had a Benson. I didn't.
I'm sure.
I had something.
We all wish we had a Benson.
I had something very different.
You had an Inga.
I had something very different and certainly less good. But
really,
that mansion, now, so you're alone. I don't know anybody. All these people want to be my friends. You know, we had always been very normal. My father had a regular job, and then he got into politics, and he was like lieutenant governor. Who the hell knows who the lieutenant governor is? So, you know what I mean? So, that's not a celebrated position necessarily. Right. So all of a sudden, I'm a somebody. Yeah. And they send me, so then I get in some trouble in Queens before we move, because all these kids now think that I think I'm special, and where I grew up,
they're all trying to pick
people
fights
don't
with
use
you.
their mouth, they use their hands. Yes. So I got into a little bit of trouble, so they send me to a military school, which was a great place. It's an even better place now, but the transition sucked, is what I'm trying to say. So I hated that life for years, and it was kind of stunting in different ways. But then as I got older, I recognized the blessing and the privilege of the service, and how lucky my father was to have that opportunity, how much it meant to him given, the status of where his family came from.
What was the best perk growing up to be did you get to go to a Springsteen concert and meet him, or stuff like that?
If I had been older, Andy, it would have been the balls.
But it was 13 till 20 something.
I know, but one, that's not the Cuomo way. Okay, my pop was pathologically humble,
right?
So the governor had a summer house, this place called Top Ridge, that was this great place up there in the mountains. He sold it.
Are you kidding?
Because he's like, the governor, we don't need some palace. Sell it and put the money back into the state. So the perks and the trappings, he wasn't into that.
Oh, God.
This mansion is a huge house, right? So it has an elevator in it. And for a while in the beginning, he was like, you're not taking an elevator. Walk up the damn stairs. But it was like 90 stairs, by the way, to get to where I slept. So it was like living in a hotel. So he was like, take the stairs in the hotel. So that's not the way Mario Cuomo was. So that wasn't Cuomo culture. I was too young to really get the perks.
Right.
So what I had was, I was being driven around by state troopers, which would be awesome for us right now.
Yeah.
But then it just meant that nobody invited me to their parties.
I'd like to get after that.
You would get after that.
Yes, I would.
And it would probably be
you haven't seen anything.
I know. It would be a good thing, really, to have you on a little bit of a leash.
I agree.
Not the way, no, not that way.
Yes.
No. I mean, to keep you a little bit away from yourself. So it would be great then. It'd be great now, but it wasn't then.
Right.
I mean, look, I'm not lamenting. I'm just saying it wasn't.
I understand.
When
That's
people say, Andrew calls me Mansion Boy as one of his many little points of invective.
Right.
So people will say, well, you had such a, what a rarefied existence. Oh, it was rarefied, but it wasn't something I don't think you'd want.
Right. What did you make of Cynthia Nixon's run against your brother?
I thought it was impressive, and I thought it was reflective of a real problem in the Democratic Party. They don't know who they is, and they do have a push to the left that is a natural pendular reaction to Trump. That's how politics works. If you look just on a quick graph of the last few cycles,
George W. begat Obama.
Obama begat Trump. What will Trump now? I don't know that the cycle continues. The pendulum goes back and forth evenly. I don't know that. And I think that the left, look, first point of proof. We don't even say Democrat and Republican anymore. We say left and right. What are we, in Venezuela? You know what I mean? So the dynamics have changed to extremes. And I don't know that the extreme works for the left the way it does for the right. But that's what she was representative of. She just didn't have the bona fides that other people who are making those insurgency moves, even in Ocasio-Cortez, she is organic to the group that came out in a way they hadn't before.
She seemed to, the thing that I credit her for is that she seems to have gotten your brother rethinking a few issues that maybe he hadn't in the past, or talking about things like marijuana legislation that maybe were not, anything that he was considering before, and that seems healthy in a democratic an election.
Testing is healthy. That's the nature. It should be a confrontational process.
Right.
The more it is about you and the opponent getting it on, the better. Easy. Easy. I saw your eyes roll up and to the right. That's creative thought. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Is this going to be held
if
against
you're going to
me?
write,
I'm right-handed.
All right, so up and to the right, that's creative thought for you,
Yeah,
which means that you were
yeah.
making it into something it wasn't intended as.
No, I mean, in that case, I actually wasn't. I've made everything
the
else
eye
you've
roll,
said
though.
into it.
The eye roll, though.
Okay, go on.
So I think the confrontational process is good. I think that dynamic was what was making both candidates stake out where they are. For Andrew, it is more complicated. Why? He's the incumbent. And he had a much more likely chance of winning and having to govern on the basis of what he said.
Right.
It's kind of like in a boxing match, Cynthia Nixon was just throwing haymakers at his head.
Right.
You know, she had nothing to lose. She's an actor.
Right.
She wasn't going to have to actually act on any of this unless she won, which was a long shot from the beginning.
Who do you think can beat Trump?
I have no idea. I do know this, though. The idea that he's one and done, I think, is naive.
Oh, I think he's going to get reelected.
I don't see how he doesn't at this point. Look, I'm always open to being wrong.
Right.
I don't know, but I don't see who's taking him out.
Okay, let's get after it. What's happening with the biceps? How often do you work out?
I haven't worked out in 2 weeks. I have 3 bulging discs in my neck. It is the most pain I've ever dealt with in my life.
No, and what are you doing?
I won't even remember this interview.
What are you doing for the bulging discs?
Everything.
Chris Cuomo is
and let me
bulging.
tell you something. People are do they get to see the feed or no?
No.
Okay. So Andy has people in the room.
Yes.
Really?
Well, they're actually running the board.
All right. No, but they're doing it. But they should have a different responsibility. And I'm afraid
they're like twittering and giggling.
But they are egging you on. I see eye contact.
It's called Radio Andy, Chris.
I know. The whole channel.
Yes.
You're such a big mocker.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
you deserve
you.
the success.
So
you are huge in my household.
Oh, wow.
3 generations.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that
my
means a
mom
lot.
loved the housewives stuff. She
you.
loves to
Really?
judge. She loves to judge ethnics.
She loves to judge ethics.
Yeah.
But you know what? Judging human behavior is. I love it that you say that, because that is the core of why the Housewives is successful.
And
people love to judge other people.
And she thinks you're cute. And
Thank
she
you.
knows that you are friends with Anderson.
Yes.
And she loves Anderson.
Wow.
She loves his integrity.
Where does your mom live?
She's on Sutton Place South.
Wow.
She's been there since they got out.
We should get her when Anderson and I do our next live thing at the Beacon. We should get her.
Oh my God,
come.
she would and she would go
nice.
because unlike the Cuomo mentality, my mother, who's a Rafa, right?
Yeah.
She's a Sicilian. She
likes to partake.
She enjoys life.
Yeah.
You know, and and so we're all a little bit of a mix, which is
That's
nice.
so funny.
My wife, who has a magazine called The Purist, she's in the media. She knows you.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yes.
My daughter.
Yes.
My 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You are, probably a reason for a 30% diminishment in her grade point average because she's watching videos on YouTube.
Yes.
So
she's getting after it.
You're a big deal.
Yes.
You're a big deal.
Thank you.
So I'm
That
doing
makes me
everything
feel
I
good.
can for the discs.
Yes.
I don't do arms. I don't body beautiful lift the way you do.
Okay, well, you don't know anything about my workouts.
You work out. You do a lot of arms.
I don't.
You try to figure out how to get abs without putting in the grind.
No, you're actually completely wrong about
Everybody's
my workout.
laughing. I don't know.
Because they're egging you on now.
I don't know. They're
Turned.
nodding in assent.
Radio Chris. So
as the ratings plummet.
But where do you work out?
I fight.
You
so
do?
I have a group of
Gets
guys.
after it.
I do. I did a lot of years of ground fighting.
Ground fighting?
Yes, and I got
Wrestling.
too old. Yeah, like Brazilian wrestling.
Brazilian wrestling.
Jiu-jitsu.
I enjoy that.
The problem was though, I got old and my flexibility is not enough to deal with people my size.
Okay.
So I then moved into self-defense, which is an amazing world that I know nothing about and I'm terrible at.
Right.
So for the last few years, I've been just doing self-defense techniques.
You speaking of self-defense, has Kellyanne Conway been back on? When was the last time you interviewed her?
Last week.
Last week. Okay, so she's still
open.
You've had some really contentious.
Yeah, I do. Here's why. I've known her for 25 years.
You have?
She's a good friend.
Wow.
Okay? She doesn't treat me like that on TV.
Right.
I think, and I say it to her, and I say it to everybody, I don't like how she is in our interviews. I think it plays to her disadvantage.
Right.
I think it only allows her to appeal to an audience of one.
Right.
And, however, she is adored within the White House by those who matter. Yeah. And she is adored by the Trump base. And she is as close a counselor to him as we have in the government. So the idea of not having her on, to me, is nonsensical. What
do you make of her husband constantly trolling the Trump administration on Twitter?
Two things. I don't think
it's fascinating to me.
It's fascinating, but here's my feeling, all right? Just going back straight, Italian family theory.
Get after it.
Don't do it. She's serving the president.
Right.
Shut your mouth.
It's wild.
Now, I don't know him. I'm not directing this to him. I'm saying as a concept, if your spouse is doing something and committed to it, leave it alone. More importantly, and I disagree with a lot of my brothers and sisters in the media on this, I don't think it is relevant. I think it is unfair to go at Kellyanne about what her husband does. I don't think that we usually do that. Look at the reaction to the Fox interview with Kavanaugh and his wife, that, well, why is she there? Why is she put in that position? She's not up for nomination. We're not scrutinizing her. Why does she have to be vetted? I believe in that. I believe that we stick with the principle. Mm-hmm. Stick with Kellyanne. Stick with what she does. Her husband is not a reflection of her politics or her positioning right now. So I think it's a little bit of a cheap tactic to analyze. But her husband is making it very tantalizing by continuing to contradict the stated positions of his wife.
I mean, it is fascinating.
It is, but sometimes we can't take the bait and swallow
hard not to
all the time. Now I got to think about everything I say because of who I'm talking to. But you can't just take it every way it's offered up all the time.
You can't just take it every way it's offered up all the time.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because, that story's a perfect example. What Trump says, and how you process it. Last night we did the closing argument on the show about how we don't talk about the crisis at the border, even though it's still a crisis.
Right.
Why? Because we're distracted by other things, and that's okay. That's part and parcel of being in the media, and news is new, but you can't forget what matters. I've lost you. You were like doodling.
No, you weren't. No, I wasn't doodling. I was looking at my questions.
You guys deal with a lot of this.
No,
right?
you're
That's
wrong.
why there's so many of you.
No,
it takes
you're
a village.
Wrong. No. What did you make? I can't get over, I've been talking about it all morning, the idea of the UN laughing at the president of the United States. I mean,
here's the first thing. What you just said is 100% accurate. They mocked him.
Right.
They laughed at him. It wasn't a joke line.
Right.
They weren't laughing with him.
No.
It wasn't recognition of his funny.
For someone who is so, as we all know, when Seth Meyers made fun of him at the Correspondents' Dinner years ago, that is actually viewed as a pivotal moment for him. He is not someone who likes being laughed at. It's why he hates the SNL impersonation that Alec Baldwin does. I mean, it bugs him. He's not someone who can be. It's why he doesn't go to the Correspondents' Dinner. He can't stand up and make fun of himself. He's incapable. So what do you think? Do you think that he thinks that they were laughing at him or with him? And do you think that what happened yesterday will have any effect on him?
So you have to go through the two different lenses. His intelligence, he's an intelligent man. He knows what it was.
Okay.
Then you have his emotional intelligence.
Yes.
How will he process that?
Right.
He does not process criticism.
Right.
He only sees it as an attack that is to be returned and blamed on someone else.
Right. Okay.
So that's what he'll do here.
Right.
And one of his catchphrases to listen for, which is a signal of his not processing, is, but that's okay. You know what I mean? Andy, that question you just asked me was really unfair, but that's okay.
Right.
It's not okay.
Right.
It's a signal to himself that he has to make an adjustment.
Talking himself off the ledge.
And he's making an adjustment. And we'll see now that, we did see, when he then spoke to the South American leader and just randomly brought up Kavanaugh, which was not only a non sequitur, but was the wrong place. And he said things that weren't true on a world stage. But why did he do it? Because he had to take back the offensive. He had to take back the momentum. He was adjusting. And that was really embarrassing. It's the second most embarrassing thing that I've had to witness as an American covering the president. The first was Helsinki.
Yeah.
That shit was embarrassing.
That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
The capitulation, it was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing.
I had members of world media consoling us.
Wow.
Like coming up to you, like recognizing we were CNN, we were America, whatever, and being like, oh man, that was rough. You know? And, you know, he can process it any way he wants. Yeah. I know what it meant to other people, you know.
And you know what's not really getting listen, there's not enough time to report on everything that's going on, but it's wild to me that did he have a 90-minute call with Putin that was not usually the calls with world leaders are, or no, he had a private meeting with him where no one else was present, right?
You're talking about in Helsinki.
That was in Helsinki.
Yes.
That's
unusual.
And they're starting to not log some of his calls to other world leaders.
That is the suggestion. Also, that is what we've been told, but we don't, you know, do I know that's true? No, but here's what I know. What terrible optics. But it also shows his kind of middle finger reaction to media scrutiny and public pressure. So of all people to meet with privately, Putin should be last on his personal list. Right. He did it anyway. Why? That's the middle finger thing. But I don't know who he thinks he's helping by doing that. So the new show is called Let's Go After It. Let's Get After It with Chris Cuomo. It's going to be every day at noon on the POTUS channel. Yes, I wanted to be on the Andy Cohen. I would love it. Radio Andy. And they said that you said no. That's not true. That we do a lot of great political shows. I was told you know that Dan Rather has a show on my channel. And I was told that you said Dan Rather is Radio Andy. Right, but Chris Cuomo's not on brand for me. It's weird that you came up with that language when you denied that you had said it. That's not true, because what I said was, if Chris Cuomo does the show... So you admit there was a conversation. I said, if Chris Cuomo does the show in a tank top, we will do it. So you did have a conversation about it, and there was a rejection with a condition. I didn't. You just admitted it. I was making it up. Were you? I was. So, Chris, I was very upset. I loved when Anderson set the record straight to one of those kids. You mean when he opened a can of whoop ass on that stupid stunt by Don Jr. and others? Okay. And it's incredible to me, though, the misinformation that is still propagated by that family. It's like, I think the thing that Trump has been most successful at is disenfranchising the truth. Is that the correct expression? Yeah, disenfranchising the truth. It works. Right? I mean, but I loved your words after. Do you feel increasingly that you're preaching to the choir, or do you feel like you're able to talk to people from everywhere? I believe that you just say it, and whoever resonates with is fine. I'll tell you, I actually have a little bit of an opposite sensation, which is I am not a preacher and I don't want to be a scold. But like last night with this stuff that happened with Ted Cruz, okay, let's put aside the legality of it, because, you know, hey, we have a right to protest. Well, not in a private place. You don't. Right. And I said that in the setup. I thought that was aware. Now I have these dingbats on the right saying, Cuomo doesn't know that you don't have the same rights in private places as public. Please, I'm a lawyer. Of course I know. Yeah. What I'm saying is that's not the main consideration. The main consideration is manner. All right? Mm-hmm. Time, place, and manner are the constitutional imperatives that you do to assess these types of assemblies. However, that's not germane. What matters here, what's really relevant is this the way to do it? Right. Was that productive? Was that positive? Was that productive? That's a really good term, because who are you hurting? You're hurting yourself. That's right. So what I said was, come on, man. You got to be decent about this. Now, I don't want to come off as a scold, but I have been doing that more and more, where I've been saying to people, we're better than this. It's not who we are. It's about being decent in a world where indecency is becoming more the norm. Right. And that's the thing that's really hard, and it's upsetting. You're trying not to fall into this thing that
it's the thing of are you going to go high or are you going to go low, and how are you going to play this?
See, I don't believe in high and low. I understand what it meant for the Obamas to put it out there, Michelle Obama specifically, and what that means to her and why it's important. I don't see it the same way for me in my capacity. I do see myself as a person's, as people's advocate for their interests and a fighter in their regard. How you fight matters. And, really, joking aside, let's get after it. Let's get after it is like a shibboleth. It's like a mantra for me in my life. I believe that you must attack things that come up that are good and bad in your life. You cannot get mired in the indifference and the excuses that we all do. You have to push through it. You have to just get after whatever it is that you want that's in front of you, your responsibilities. And I'm a warrior. That is my mentality in my life. I'm not a military guy. I'm not a soldier. I'm not brave enough for that. But within my own capacity, I'm there to test power. I'm there to have the fights that people can't have for themselves. That's the role of the press. And that also means sometimes fighting with your audience.
Right.
About what they're doing and how they're coming at things and what they're demanding and what they're rewarding. And I just believe that that's where we are right now culturally. There are a lot of fights going on. Andy, when the Supreme Court came down with a decision about the equal protection for marriage, everybody was like, we've won, it's over. And I said at the time, it's not over. Right. Because that's just one category until you make that a protected class.
Yeah.
And now what are we seeing? Yep. I'm going to get after you on the job front. I'm going to get you here. I'm going to get you there. I'm going to get you every different way I can to impose my bias.
Yeah.
So you got to keep fighting. So we fight.
The new show is called Let's Go Tap That. It's on the POTUS channel.
It's the laughing that makes it happen again. Do you understand? When my 3-year-old found the F word, it was our laughing the first couple of times she said it that brought me 4 years of pain in different schools.
Let's Go Tap That with Chris Cuomo.
Yeah. And the way you say it is even worse, by the way.
Let's get after it on the POTUS channel. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming. Please come on Watch What Happens Live sometime.
I would love to be with you. I've never been invited.
I would love it. Well, you're going to be invited.
I love being with you on the radio. I love what you're about. I love what you do for the rest of us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Tell your family hi. Tell your mom hi.
I will.
Yes.
Big fan.